Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe for more global culture stories. Now let's get into why so many Americans end up falling in love with life in Canada, often without even realizing it. Most Americans move to Canada expecting colder weather, friendlier people, and maybe a slower pace. But what they don't expect is the emotional comfort the country gives them almost immediately. It's not a loud difference. It's not something you notice in the first hour. It's something you feel deep in your daily routine. Life here feels softer, calmer, and strangely peaceful. People speak with gentler voices. Streets feel less tense. Even busy cities have a quiet, steady rhythm that makes you breathe easier. Americans often say the same thing after a few weeks. I didn't realize how much pressure I was carrying until I came here. And that's the first thing they love most. The sense of inner peace Canada gives them without trying. A peace that comes not from silence, but from balance. A peace that wraps around you in the little moments. Walking through clean neighborhoods, hearing polite conversations, experiencing calm traffic, or simply noticing how everyday life feels less heavy. That emotional shift becomes one of Canada's biggest gifts, a quiet comfort Americans didn't expect to love. Americans know Canadians have a reputation for being polite, but what shocks them most is how genuine that politeness feels. It's not exaggerated, it's not forced, and it's definitely not fake. It's in the small, effortless acts people do without thinking. A stranger holding the door longer than necessary. Someone letting you merge during rush hour traffic without hesitation. A cashier taking an extra 15 seconds just to make sure you're having a good day. People apologizing even when they aren't at fault. Not because they're weak, but because they want to keep the environment comfortable for everyone. Conversations feel softer. Interactions feel more respectful. Even the way Canadians disagree carries kindness. Instead of confrontation, there's consideration. Instead of escalation, there's understanding. Americans quickly fall in love with this form of politeness because it creates a world where people feel safe expressing themselves. A world where you're treated like a human being, not an obstacle. It's subtle, but deeply powerful. And it's a major reason Americans feel emotionally at home in Canada. Canada moves at a pace that Americans struggle to describe at first. It's not slow. It's steady. Controlled. Peaceful. People don't rush for the sake of rushing. They don't push through crowds or honk at every inconvenience. Even in cities like Toronto or Vancouver, there's a sense of order that feels soothing instead of chaotic. Workplaces feel less intense. Restaurants don't hurry you out. People in line don't sigh loudly or create tension. The entire country feels like it runs on a more humane rhythm. Americans who come from fast, pressured environments often describe Canada as the first time life didn't feel like a competition. You can go grocery shopping without feeling overwhelmed. You can take public transport without feeling stressed. You can walk through the streets without feeling rushed. This gentle pace of life becomes one of the biggest reasons Americans fall in love with Canada, because it shows them what life feels like when you're not constantly racing against time. One of the most profound differences Americans feel in Canada is the sense of safety. Not just physical safety, but emotional safety too. It's the way the air feels when you walk through a neighborhood at night without constantly checking behind you. It's the way parents let their children play outside with confidence instead of fear. It's the way people leave bikes unlocked for a moment or forget to lock their car and don't panic. Even in major cities, there's a calmness Americans aren't used to. No shouting on the streets, no aggressive confrontations, no constant background tension. You can walk through downtown, ride the bus, visit parks, or explore new areas with a level of comfort that feels unusual for anyone coming from the US. This isn't about being perfect or crime-free. Canada isn't a fantasy, but the everyday atmosphere is different, more relaxed, more trusting, more human. Americans start to realize how much stress they were carrying back home. The subtle fear, the constant awareness, the instinct to always be alert. When that pressure fades, life feels lighter, moments feel fuller. And that emotional security becomes something Americans fall deeply in love with. It changes how they live, how they move through the world, and even how they think. In Canada, safety isn't just a statistic. It's a feeling that follows you everywhere. One of the most surprising things Americans fall in love with is how naturally community forms in Canada. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city or a small town. People look out for each other in a quiet, consistent way. Neighbors say good morning. Strangers help carry groceries without being asked. Someone slipping on ice is instantly surrounded by people making sure they're okay. During snowstorms, everyone shovels not just their own driveway, but the pavement in front of the entire block. Even in apartments, people hold the elevator, wait patiently, or make space for others. It's not a show, it's not a performance. It's simply the Canadian instinct to care for the people around them. In the US, a community is often something you have to search for, through events, groups, or shared interests. In Canada, community happens effortlessly, one small act at a time. Americans quickly realize they feel less alone here, more connected, more grounded. And that gentle sense of belonging becomes one of the biggest reasons they fall in love with life in Canada. Americans know Canada has incredible nature, but they don't expect how easily it becomes part of their daily routine. In the US, nature often requires travel, planning, or effort. In Canada, it's built right into the structure of daily life. Even in major cities, there are parks every few blocks, bike lanes stretching for kilometers, lakes you can reach in minutes, and mountain views just outside the skyline. Canadians don't treat nature like a rare escape. They treat it like part of their everyday schedule. People take evening walks year-round, even in winter. They skate on frozen ponds as if it's completely normal. They hike on weekends without needing to plan hours ahead. And Americans begin to love how easy it is to step outside and feel connected to the world around them. Nature isn't a luxury here. It's accessible, free, and constant. Over time, Americans notice that spending more time outdoors changes how they think, how they relax, and how they experience life. Canada quietly teaches them to slow down, breathe deeper, and appreciate the natural beauty surrounding them every single day. The longer Americans stay in Canada, the more they begin to feel a change inside themselves. Their shoulders aren't as tense. Their thoughts aren't as heavy. Their days aren't as rushed or stressful. Canada gives them a kind of emotional freedom they didn't expect. The freedom to live without constant pressure, without fear, without noise. They're surprised by how peaceful their mornings feel, how safe nights feel, how respectful conversations feel, and how balanced everyday life becomes. Many realize for the first time that they're not constantly bracing for something to go wrong. They're not competing with everyone around them. They're not running on adrenaline. They're simply living, calmly, comfortably, and confidently. It's a feeling that stays with them long after they leave. Canada didn't just give them a new country to explore, it gave them a new way to exist. When Americans talk about Canada, they often mention the scenery, the friendliness, or the calmer lifestyle. But the truth goes deeper than that. What they love most isn't just the clean streets, the safe cities, the polite culture, or the connection to nature. It's the feeling Canada gives them, a feeling of peace, stability, warmth, and balance that quietly settles into their everyday life. It's the small moments that change them. Walking through a quiet neighborhood at night without fear, sharing a laugh with strangers who feel like neighbors, experiencing winter traditions that bring people together, or simply living in a country where life doesn't feel like a constant race. Canada doesn't overwhelm you. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand you to be more than you are. Instead, it gives you space to breathe, to rest, to grow, and to reconnect with a part of yourself you may have forgotten. And that is what Americans end up loving the most, not the idea of Canada, but the way Canada makes them feel. A feeling they carry long after they leave. A feeling they often wish they could find everywhere. And in our next global encounter, we're exploring the things Americans miss the most once they move back home. The habits they keep, the comforts they search for, and the parts of the Canadian lifestyle they never truly let go of. So if you want to continue this journey, make sure to subscribe. Because the real story of Canada isn't just about the place. It's about the impact it leaves on the people who experience it.